This is Global Currency Insight, and today we're diving into a topic that has sparked a lot of discussion and speculation: the future of the Iraqi dinar. There's been growing talk that big changes could be just around the corner, and many people are wondering if we're about to see a shift that could reshape how this currency is valued and used. The buzz has been building because several developments inside Iraq are pointing toward possible reforms, and if those reforms happen, they could affect anyone who holds dinars. But before we get caught up in the excitement, it's important to understand what these changes actually mean, how they work, and what history tells us about similar situations. Too many times, people imagine an overnight transformation where everything suddenly multiplies in value. The truth is more complicated, and the details matter if we want a separate speculation from reality. When countries decide to reform their currency, there are generally two processes that often get confused. The first is known as revaluation, and the second is redenomination. These sound similar, but they serve different purposes and usually happen in a sequence that makes sense for a national economy. Think of it like fixing up a house that has been neglected for years. You can't just paint over cracks and call it new. First, the foundation has to be stabilized, then the structure has to be rebuilt, and only after that do you finish things with cosmetic updates. A currency system works in much the same way. Iraq has had decades of economic challenges, including long periods of inflation, which have left its currency filled with more zeros than are practical for daily life. This makes even simple purchases confusing and inefficient, and it's one of the big reasons changes are being discussed now. Revaluation is the first step, and it means reassessing the currency's exchange rate to match what the economy can realistically support. A revaluation doesn't come from rumors or outside pressure. It comes from a careful review of things like national resources, production capacity, government stability, and financial infrastructure. Iraq is a country with some of the largest oil reserves in the world, and oil remains its most important export. Over the last several years, economic indicators such as growth, reconstruction efforts, and governance have shown signs of improvement compared to the instability of previous decades. For many observers, this raises the possibility that the dinar could be undervalued compared to Iraq's real economic strength. But even if the exchange rate were adjusted to better reflect that strength, there would still be a practical challenge: the number of zeros on the currency. That's where redenomination comes into play. Redenomination is the process of issuing new currency notes and removing excess zeros to make transactions easier. Imagine walking into a cafe and needing to count out 50,000 dinars just to pay for a cup of coffee. That's not only inconvenient, it's impractical for both businesses and citizens in daily transactions. In a redenomination, 100,000 dinars might simply become 100 new dinars, with the value preserved but the numbers streamlined. This has been done many times in other countries. Turkey carried out a redenomination in 2005, Brazil has done it multiple times, and Germany went through it after World War II. These examples show that redenomination itself is not unusual. It's part of normal economic reform when inflation has stretched a currency too far. What matters is planning, execution, and making sure people understand the process so they can use the new currency confidently. In Iraq's case, recent signs have suggested the groundwork may be underway for meaningful currency reform. The government has been implementing economic policies aimed at stability, modernizing its financial institutions, and building relationships with international partners. Oil exports remain a key driver of revenue, and infrastructure projects have been progressing. Reports indicate that the Central Bank of Iraq has been taking steps to strengthen the banking sector, improve monetary policy tools, and prepare for possible changes in the way the currency is managed. Digital payment systems are becoming more common and banking networks are being upgraded. These might seem like technical details, but they are important building blocks for any major shift in how a country handles its currency. Without these systems in place, it would be difficult to introduce a new currency design or adjust exchange rates smoothly. However, it's critical to understand that large-scale currency changes do not happen overnight. Even when everything looks ready on the surface, months or even years of preparation may already have taken place behind the scenes. When the euro was introduced in Europe, it seemed sudden to many people, but in reality, years of planning, agreements, and testing had gone into the transition. That's why, if Iraq were to move toward either revaluation or redenomination, much of the heavy lifting would likely already be done quietly, with the public only learning about it once the system was ready to go live. This is not about secrecy for secrecy's sake. It's about ensuring that when the switch happens, it happens in an orderly way without creating panic or confusion among citizens, businesses, or international markets. So what would this mean for those who currently hold Iraqi dinars? If both a revaluation and a redenomination occur, the process would likely unfold in stages. First, a new exchange rate would be established to reflect economic fundamentals. Then the redenomination would follow, with old notes exchanged for new ones at a set ratio. For example, 1,000 old dinars could be swapped for one new dinar. At that point, the purchasing power would remain balanced, but the way prices and notes are displayed would change dramatically. Holders of dinar would need to exchange their old notes at authorized banks or exchanges, and depending on the policies in place, there could be time limits, paperwork requirements, or restrictions on the amount exchanged at once. None of this is unusual. It's the standard way redenominations have been managed in other countries. It's also worth noting that not all dinar notes may be treated equally. Sometimes older series of banknotes are phased out differently, which means knowing exactly what type of notes you have is essential. Notes in poor physical condition could also face stricter scrutiny or even rejection if they are badly damaged. For anyone holding dinars, these practical issues are more important than speculation about overnight wealth. And because not every bank or exchange in every country is equipped to handle exotic currencies like the Iraqi dinar, holders would need to know where to go and what documentation to provide in order to complete an exchange. These are the kinds of details that often get overlooked in the rush of speculation but can make all the difference during an actual transition. At the same time, while optimism surrounds Iraq's progress, it's necessary to be realistic. Currency changes are affected by more than just domestic planning, global economic conditions, regional politics, and international agreements all play a part in determining when and how a country moves forward. Even if everything inside Iraq points toward reform, external events could delay the process. That's why the timeline for such changes is uncertain and why it's important not to assume that announcements will always translate into immediate action. In fact, patience is often a key factor when watching currency reforms unfold. Countries may signal their intentions long before anything official is implemented, giving themselves flexibility to adjust to changing conditions. What's important now is understanding that Iraq has been laying the foundation for potential reform. The steps being taken with banking modernization, digital transactions, and economic planning are not random. They align with the kinds of preparations other countries have made before currency overhauls. While nothing is guaranteed and no dates are fixed, these developments provide context for why so much attention is being paid to the dinar right now. People want to know whether these signs mean something significant is about to happen, and while there is no definitive answer, the evidence suggests Iraq is preparing itself for some kind of shift. From a broader perspective, the conversation about Iraq's currency highlights how complex monetary reform can be. It's not about simple announcements or overnight windfalls, it's about carefully balancing economic fundamentals, public confidence, and international cooperation. When these pieces come together, a country can move forward successfully with both revaluation and redenomination. If the pieces don't align, delays or adjustments are inevitable. This is why following official statements, understanding practical processes, and keeping realistic expectations are essential for anyone paying attention to this story. For those holding dinars, the key takeaway is preparation. Keep your notes safe and in good condition, know which financial institutions can handle exchanges, and stay updated with official announcements rather than relying on speculation. Recognize that redenomination does not automatically mean losing value, and revaluation does not automatically mean sudden wealth. These are technical processes designed to stabilize and modernize an economy, not lottery events, and as with any currency reform, patience, clarity, and accurate information are what matter most. As of now, Iraq seems to be in a phase of preparation, much like a builder getting a site ready before construction begins. Systems are being updated, infrastructure is being built, and economic groundwork is being put in place. When the official moment comes, it may appear sudden, but the reality will be that years behind the scenes work have led to that point. That's why observers believe we could be closer than before, but it's also why no one can say with certainty when or how it will happen. In the end, Iraq appears to be moving toward a new chapter in its currency story. Whether through revaluation, redenomination, or both, the aim would be to create a stronger, more practical system that reflects the country's progress and supports its people. The path forward is filled with both opportunities and challenges, and only time will tell how it unfolds. For now, what matters is staying informed, paying attention to official developments, and keeping expectations grounded in reality rather than speculation. Thanks for watching Global Currency Insight. This is a story that continues to develop, and the situation can change quickly. We'll keep following the updates as they come, so stay tuned for more discussions about the Iraqi dinar and other currencies shaping the global financial landscape. Until next time, stay informed and stay prepared.